730 women right now are living hundreds of feet beneath the ocean. They sleep in bunks smaller than coffins, share bathrooms with dozens of men, and spend 3 to 6 months without ever stepping outside. They aren't prisoners. They're America's submarine warriors. And here's the part nobody talks about. Women submariners actually outperform men, with a 75% success rate compared to 74% for their male counterparts. How is that even possible? What makes women not only survive in the world's harshest military environment, but excel? The truth will shock you. Step aboard a nuclear submarine, and the first thing that hits you isn't the advanced tech, it's the lack of space. Imagine a ship more than 300 feet long. Sounds massive, right? But once you take out the reactor, propulsion systems, and weapons storage, there's almost no room left for the 130 to 150 sailors who live there. Your bedroom? A bunk stacked 3 high. Submariners call it the aluminum coffin, and that's exactly how it feels. Your personal storage? A tiny bin just 5 inches deep. Everything you own for half a year has to fit inside. The USS Missouri once spent 163 days underwater out of a 181-day deployment. That's over 5 months with no sunlight, no fresh air, and no real privacy. Officers cram into tiny 3-person rooms. Enlisted sailors live in rows of bunks with only a curtain to separate them. Even email with family comes maybe 20 times in 6 months because every signal risks revealing the submarine's position. One mistake down there doesn't just affect you. It could mean life or death for everyone on board. And yet, these women volunteered for this life. That's where the story really begins. For more than a century, submarines were off limits to women. That changed in 2010 when the ban was finally lifted. The very first women officers joined in 2011 aboard Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines. Why those boats? Because they were the largest, with multiple bathrooms and more space to modify for mixed crews. But joining wasn't as simple as stepping aboard. The submarines themselves were built around the male body. Periscopes too high for shorter sailors. Valves requiring huge upper body strength. Equipment designed to fit men, not women. And yet, these pioneers didn't complain. They adapted. They trained just as hard. And they earned the coveted dolphins, the insignia of a qualified submariner. They weren't tokens. They weren't exceptions. They became part of the nuclear family. But this was only the first wave. The real transformation came a few years later. In 2015, enlisted women officially joined the submarine force. That's when the numbers started to grow and history was made. By 2022, Chief Petty Officer Angela Kugler became the first female chief of the boat, one of the most respected positions on any submarine. She wasn't just there, she was leading. By 2024, the figures spoke volumes. 87 female officers had joined, 400 enlisted women signed up. That made up 20% of officer accessions and nearly 10% of enlisted counterparts. And here's the kicker. Women weren't just staying, they were staying longer. Female officers retained at higher rates. Enlisted women re-enlisted at 75%, just edging out men at 74%. The Navy is already preparing for its first female submarine commanding officer by 2028. But none of this would have been possible without a radical rethink of the submarine itself. September 14th, 2024. A day that changed naval history. The USS New Jersey was launched, the first submarine ever designed from the ground up for men and women together. No more retrofitting, no more curtains where doors should be. This was a complete reimagining. Solid doors for privacy. Washrooms with proper partitions. overhead valves lowered, steps added to reach stacked bunks in machines. Medical facilities expanded for women's specific health needs. Even periscopes were redesigned so shorter sailors could operate them effectively. These changes may sound small, but on a 3-month patrol, they mean everything. The New Jersey represents a $3 billion investment not just in technology, but in equality. And every new Virginia and Columbia-class submarine will carry these innovations forward. But technology alone doesn't explain why women thrive underwater. The real secret lies in the invisible rules that govern life beneath the waves. How do you stay sane when you're locked in a steel tube with 150 people, months away from sunlight, privacy, or fresh air? Submariners live by a code. It's not written on paper, but everyone knows it. And it's the only reason life underwater doesn't break people apart. Rule number 1, no politics. On land, arguments end with people walking away. Underwater, you can't walk away. So divisive topics are banned. Rule number 2, quiet is golden. Submarines never sleep. With rotating shifts, someone is always resting. Door slams, loud jokes, or careless noise, that's more than annoying. It's disrespectful. Rule number 3, personal space is sacred. Even when personal space doesn't exist, you don't touch someone's rack, you don't borrow gear without asking. You give people mental distance, even when physical distance is impossible. Women added their own strategies too. Informal mentorship networks, quiet stress relief, journaling, reading, small support circles, group exercise sessions in the torpedo room when it isn't packed with weapons. For men, stress relief often looks like competition or banter. For women, it's conversation, bonding, and maintaining fragile connections with home. It's a delicate balance, but those rules keep the peace, and they prove that survival is as much about culture as it is about strength. Still, the path to integration wasn't smooth. Some storms nearly sank the whole program. Between 2011 and 2015, the Navy faced its darkest test. Several women discovered they'd been secretly filmed in showers and changing areas. These weren't pranks. They were violations. The offenders were court-martialed, dismissed, and disgraced. Across the Atlantic, things looked worse. In 2024, the Royal Navy Submarine Service faced allegations of harassment, bullying, even assault. Women reported being degraded and silenced when they tried to speak up. The headlines were brutal, but the U.S. Navy drew a line in the sand. Zero tolerance, mandatory cultural training, clear reporting systems. The message from the top was simple: harassment ends careers, period. And it worked. Instead of collapsing, the culture shifted. Commanders owned responsibility. Senior women spoke up. And crews learned that professionalism wasn't optional. It was survival. From those hard lessons came something stronger, a submarine force where women weren't just present, but respected. Behind every statistic is a story. Meet Chief Samantha Mincy, a logistics specialist who joined the Navy before women were even allowed on subs. Back then, she never imagined she'd end up as the senior enlisted female on a crew. She started on aircraft carriers, transferred to submarines, and proved that skill, not gender, decides success. Or Lieutenant Victoria Meyer, Naval Academy graduate of 2019. She dreamed of becoming a pilot until the Navy opened the door wider for women in submarines. She chose the depths. Serving on the USS New Jersey, she witnessed the transformation firsthand, from being just one of 2 women aboard to seeing integration become the norm. And then there was the USS Wyoming, when 15 enlisted women completed the first all-female deterrent patrol in U.S. submarine history. From junior sailors to chiefs, they showed the world that gender wasn't the story. excellence was.